Welcome to the Deviant Witchery Show, where a witch can be a witch. And this week I'm going to talk about Hexfest probably for the most part. But first, Michael has a couple of announcements. Yeah, baby.
Oh, I see how it goes. Okay. Fuck. Okay, so we obviously have our Pop-It giveaway that we are going to be doing sometime in the future. We've been trying to give that shit away, for a long time now, but it requires engagement with us on YouTube, so you have to kind of be a little active. You have to post questions on the YouTube channel, and even post like video responses. So, and that's not been happening. So that Pop-It kind of just is waiting. So we have that. We also created, obviously, some wonderful T-shirts.
But you can see the ads all over Facebook right now. At least I've been seeing them.
So we have that, and if you need a link to purchase one, because they're pretty awesome, we will post that again after the show. Oh, where's my... And you saw this last time, because we haven't done a show in a while, but I have this little box right here that's going to be full of amazing things. So when we get a certain amount, I think I said 1,200 last time, subscribers to our channel, that box is going to go home with someone. It really needs a home. Box of awesome. Yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
So tell us, how was New Orleans?
Okay. Well, before I start though, I wanted everybody who's watching to know that all the information that I learned over this weekend that's in this notebook right here, you're not going to get it on this show. So if you thought you're tuning in because I'm going to give you away everything that I learned and me taking my time away from my kids, and I probably spent almost $1,000 between food and lodging and everything else, you're shit out of luck. Another thing is, if you're looking for me to, or if you're looking for drama or gossip or anything about, anybody who was there, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to talk negatively about anybody. Nothing happened. There was no drama. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. There was absolutely no... It was a great show, and no matter... The show is a great weekend. No matter what you think about Christian Day or anything or anybody else, he put together a great event. That is the fact. He put together a great event with some of the greatest people and the biggest known people and the most friendly people. And that was really made it... This is the first time I've been to a big event like this, but I think I just made it, like, so much better. So, yeah, I went with Christina and her friend Karen. Now, Christina has been friends with Michael for a very, very long time. And so I spent the weekend in New Orleans with 2 Canadians, which was very interesting.
Hey.
We had a lot of fun figuring out the temperature, because they're in Celsius and we're in Fahrenheit, and the distance, because we're in miles and they're in kilometers. So that was fun. Yeah, but that was great. No, we got to the airport and I saw, like, I don't know how detailed you guys want me to go, but it was interesting because I saw Karen first. And she recognized me, like, instantly because she watches the show sometimes. And then Christina recognized me right away. And, like, they recognized me before I recognized them, which is a kind of an odd feeling for me because that's never happened before.
Same.
So, and as soon as we got off the shuttle, so Michael was messaging me when we were on the shuttle. He's like, so what do you think of New Orleans so far? And I'm like, I don't know. We haven't left the shuttle yet. The driver is trying to kill us or something. I don't know. He was driving all crazy on the highway. As soon as we stepped off the shuttle, though, I went, holy shit, because as soon as you walked in the, on the street, you see this Jesus statue who's got his hands out, and it was dark, so there was this light shining on him, so you see Jesus in this gigantic shadow, And because there was a church right there. I was like, yeah, Jesus is welcoming all the witches to New Orleans, to Bourbon Street. And his nickname is actually Touchdown Jesus, which we found out the next day because we had scheduled a tour with Bloody Mary's tour group. And we had scheduled the cemetery tour because I wasn't sure what Bloody Mary's tour was going to actually cover during the event. And I'm glad we scheduled that because it ended up being over 2 hours. And we got to see, now to get into the cemetery that Marie Laveau is in, her tomb is, you have to be with a tour. And because it was defaced, and I know they changed that in like March, so I can't remember exactly when it was defaced, but if you guys remember, somebody painted it pink.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to fix that and wash that and everything. And then now you cannot go in there without a tour, and they're actually pretty strict on keeping an eye on people. She said if you wander too far off, like the like bodyguards at the gate, they'll be like, oh, does this person belong to you? Because they don't want you to wander too far off. But what was really interesting is that when we were waiting for the tour guide, I ran into a girl that actually lives in a town over from me, which is very funny that I had to meet somebody like that local who probably lives like 5 minutes away from me down in New Orleans. So that was kind of, it's like one of those small world things. And something else that was funny is in the plane ride on the way back, there was a guy coming from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he was coming here to do some kind of missionary work. So, all right, I got your message. So, was that better? All right.
Perfect.
So the tour was great. If you have a chance to go down there, I would definitely do the cemetery tour. Now, there was several different kinds of tours. We saw people on segways. We saw people just walking. That was interesting. They had helmets. They had to have helmets on, too. We saw people just walking, people in the horse-drawn carriages, which stunk because they have, like, the bags of poop attached to their back end. And it was 90 degrees and humid, and they stunk. But we were in an air-conditioned van. So if you go with Bloody Mary's tour group, you will be in an air-conditioned van, which was great for, like, the in-between areas because you got to cool down a little bit. What we were told about that tomb is that is Marie Laveau's tomb. That what happened was when she remarried, which I don't know any background information about her at all, so this is coming from a total newbie. But when she remarried a white guy, and that's the last name that is on the tomb, and apparently it was not like official because he was white and she was black. So I don't think it's like in the records, but her name that's the name that's on the tomb, so that's where the confusion was. So I don't know. And and the tour guide also practices voodoo. So I would trust her a little bit more than some random people that are just, around. And the funny thing about going to Marie Laveau's tomb, usually when you go to somebody's tomb and I knew I was going, you bring some kind of offering. I completely forgot. I had emptied out my change out of my wallet the night before, and I had, like, nothing. And one of the things that people would leave, though, was hair ties, because she was a hairdresser, and I happened to have a hair tie on my wrist. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to leave this hair tie. And I'm thinking to myself in my head, watch, as soon as I leave this hair tie, because it was starting to get hot at this point, I was like, my hair is just going to go crazy, and I'm really going to regret not having that hair tie. And that is exactly what happened. Like, I gave the hair tie, and then within like the next hour I was like, man, I really wish I could be pulling my hair up right now, but that didn't happen. I sound like I'm reading a script and being really boring right now. So later that night was when we went to the Riverboat, and one of the things we had to check in, so after the tour, you also make a voodoo doll. So we all made these little dolls, and we made them out of Spanish moss and the cloth, and she taught us how to tie them and everything else. And I never made a voodoo, never made a poppet like this. I usually use the pre-made felt bodies, but this was really interesting because I'd never really worked a Spanish moss like this either. It's kind of like a string, and you kind of wind it around, and then you put the cloth over top of it. So I thought that was really cool, and
Old school
that was fun.
poppet.
Yeah, it was definitely old school, and I could see myself making more like this again. And I learned a little bit more about why they use Spanish moss during one of the workshops, and Dorothy actually said it is because the Spanish moss lasts forever. So what it does is it keeps the poppet alive, so it keeps it going for longer. It doesn't degrade as quickly as some other things do. So that's why we usually use them as a filler, is because they keep everything going. And you can also use it for all sorts of other stuff too. We were given these awesomely tacky medallions that everybody had to wear. And the only reason why I say that is because they're on the classic beads, which is classic, but at the same time it was a little tacky. The presenters had their names on theirs, which was really cool. So if you didn't know who they were, now you do, because their names are on their medallions. So we had to wear them. They actually kept track of that. You had to make sure you had it before you went on the boat. When you went into the vending area, before you went into any of the classrooms, they pretty much kept track of that, because it was all in the hotel, but we were kind of commingled with the muggles, which is really funny. And even on the boat, they told us that there was a jazz cruise on the floor above us. So just not to go onto the second floor, but everybody could go onto the top floor of the boat. And if anybody had been following anything that had been going on, we were not able to go on the original boat that was booked, but we went on the Creole Queen, which was awesome because it had the 3 levels to it. And so you could stand on the top level and you could just see everything in the Mississippi River. And Christina kept pointing out all these boats, and I'm just looking at her like, okay. I don't know, she likes boats, and I don't know anything about boats. I was just like, all right, that's cool. So they did their, yeah, I ate a lot of bad food. It was good food, but it was bad for me food. So completely went off any kind of diet plan I had before that, which I already knew was going to happen. But the food was actually pretty good. Now, the funny thing, when we were going there, we took a cab to the Riverboat. And so it was the 3 of us, and then the girl that we had met up with at the tour. We're all on the same floor. And we took a cab over there. And these people just walk in the street. They just walk in front of all the cars. They don't really care. I mean, this was at, I want to say, 4:30, 5 o'clock, and there was just people everywhere. People getting drunk at 9 o'clock in the morning. Or they're still drunk from the night before. I'm not sure which it was. Because we were pretty much we were pretty much on Bourbon Street, which is absolutely nuts. It was nuts on Thursday when we got there. So these guys are walking in front and they're carrying this TV, and the cab driver just starts cursing them out. And it was really funny, and he's just like, no, I hit you, and it's okay if you die because I have insurance. Because I have insurance, and I'll be okay, and you'll be dead. And he was a Haitian guy, too, so with the accent and how mad he was, it was even more amusing. So that was the joke for the rest of the weekend. If we were going to cross the street, we made sure to see what kind of car it was, and if it was a cab, we'd stop because they have insurance. So we didn't want to get hit by the cab drivers. But if it was a local, yeah, we just didn't care. We would just walk in front. But I just thought that was really funny. We're standing on the line too, and I was talking to. So we're standing on the line to get on the riverboat, and I'm talking to Christina, I think it was, and all of a sudden I turned around and I saw it was Dorothy Morrison's back. It wasn't even the front. It was her back. All I saw was her hair and this green cape, and I knew it was her. And I had a complete and total fangirl moment. I was literally fanning myself, and Christina's just laughing at me. She was laughing at me so hard. And throughout the whole dinner, I was this close from jumping out of my seat to go and to talk to her. I kept stopping myself because I'm like, if I want to go talk to her and if I want to take a picture with her and stuff, which is what I was planning on doing, I wanted to be wearing the Deviant Witch shirt. So I kept almost jumping out of my seat, so they thought that was pretty funny. But the girl that we ended up meeting there, actually, she's taking Christopher Penzak's class. She's in his she's one of his students. So he actually sat down with us at the table for a couple of minutes, and so I thought that was really cool. And that was what was really great about the whole thing, is that the people that were there, most of them have been doing it for a while, so they kind of know what crowd they're going to come into, and they're very friendly, and they knew a lot of the people from the past and just from communications and different things. So even though it was a big group, like I don't know the final numbers, it was a pretty big group, but it was still kind of like intimate. Like if you wanted time to sit down and talk with somebody, they would actually talk with you. So if you weren't able to catch them after a workshop, you could catch them in the vending area, and they would actually like expand on something or maybe give you a little bit more advice, or you could just bullshit with them, whatever the case may be. So I thought that was really interesting. Like they were all the people that were there were very, very approachable. So they did the voodoo ritual on the boat to kind of bless the weekend. So all the presenters got up and got to say a couple words, which was really cool. And then pretty much right after that, we went outside to get some air, and Bloody Mary actually came out with the offering that was for the river. So she gave an offering to the river, and from what I saw that was on the plate was, I think it was beans and eggs. There was 4 eggs, and there was a jar. I'm not sure what was in it. And she had everybody give coins. She said the river liked coins, which I thought was a little different. But okay, so I had that. I actually had changed, so I had changed my pocket and did that. But we actually watched her put all that into the river, which was really cool. And I don't know. I never thought about giving, I guess, the river an offering like that, but I thought that was really awesome. So as far as the workshops go, first thing in the morning was Dorothy's workshop about, oops, I hexed the wrong person, and that was really interesting. She talked about her spell in her book, which I ended up getting an actual hard copy of. It's a page 100. It's called Swifting Energy. So if you have this book, check it out. I'm not going to go in the whole story, but it looks like, from the story she told and the things that happened after she did the spell, it looks like it's a really super powerful spell. And she signed it for me too. So she wrote,
I'm jealous.
To Blithe, stay wicked. Now the story, I'm jumping all over the place right now, okay? Right, yeah, Swifting of Energy. Okay, so I buy the book because I have it on Kindle, but I don't have print, and this is the only book that she brought because it's Hexfest. So this is the only book that she brought. And I bought it, and I had her sign it. And so she goes, oh, you're one of my customers. And I said, yeah, I've ordered from you a couple times. She goes, oh, thank you. And then she goes, wait a second. And she said my full name. And I looked at her, and I said, how do you remember that? She goes, I might be old. But I can remember people's names. And I'm just like, oh, my God. I'm like, but I've only ordered from her twice. And the last time I ordered from her was in like February. Was when she had that social media sale, and I ordered the oil for you, Michael, and I ordered a couple candles and stuff. So it's been a while. I just thought that was really interesting. I mean, we're not friends on Facebook either, so there's like really no reason for her to remember me, besides the fact that we had a couple emails back and forth. So I thought that was awesome. So then I mentioned Nadia Romanoff because she had mentioned me to give her a hug for me and everything. And so I thought that was really cool that she actually, if you email Dorothy, she actually responds to your emails if you do any orders or anything like that, which is really awesome. So the big themes of the weekend, there was 2 big themes that I noticed. The first one was money. Everybody was talking about money and working with spirits and ancestors. Now, also the workshops that I took, I kind of expected the spirits and ancestors because I took the conjure classes because that's what I came for. So I kind of expected that, but it was very interesting hearing the conjure workers speak to people of like the mixed magical backgrounds and the things that they focused on that were really important to them. Dorothy said, you got to work with both hands. Sarkassus said, you got to work with both hands. Sen Moise is another one, did the hoodoo, fucking them up old school. You got to do what you got to do. So one of the things that Dorothy said as far as hexes is, sometimes you have to speak in a language that other people can understand. So
Right.
if somebody is coming at you in a certain way, you gotta, speak their language. And another thing that she said that was awesome was turn bullshit into money. So I love that. I got a couple quotes. And there's no such thing as magic that is not manipulative.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, yes.
Here.
Yes, completely agree with that. I took the Love and Lust magic, which was good. I knew all of it already, though, so I can't really. If you didn't know any of the information, it was really good. Now, Starcast's Bible workshop I took too, and I was kind of on the fence about this one because I don't usually use Bible, but I'm telling you, after taking that workshop, I was very disappointed that there was not a Bible in the hotel because I wanted to look up a couple things. There was no Bible in the room at all, and I looked everywhere. And so another thing, in between those two classes, somebody actually recognized me. And I kind of thought it would happen, but I wasn't sure. And I feel really bad because I feel like I was a little rude because she said my name, and I turned around, I'm looking at her, because I didn't recognize her, because I thought it was one of the girls I was with at first. And then she goes, oh, I watched your show, and I didn't know you guys are going to be here. And instead of me saying, oh, what's your name, I said, who are you? So, Dana, if I offended you, I apologize. You caught me off guard completely. And, yeah, I just felt, afterwards, I'm like, damn it, I hope I wasn't rude. But I felt like it was the way that I said it. She was really sweet, though, for the couple of seconds that I had met her. I thought that was awesome. So there's people from all sorts of backgrounds. Yeah, Stars, she gave a lot of, she works with prophets. She works with a lot of prophets, which is not something that I've heard of before. I've heard of people working with the saints. So she talked about, I'm trying to find their names. I know she talked about Isaiah and Elijah. And she talked about the Wall of Jericho spell. Because I know that's come up. And one of the things that she did say that is if you cannot sleep at night, if you're having problems sleeping, put a glass of water by your bed. And what that does is if spirits are plaguing you, they'll go to the water instead of you. Which I know Michael has said in the past, if you do leave out a glass of water overnight, don't drink it.
Right.
That water's got to go back to the earth. Don't drink it because the spirit's been playing in that water. That's not water that you want to then take into yourself. And one of the things I thought was interesting, well, she says she's got a ton of stuff under her bed. She says if you're having problems, you should put a Bible under your bed. But she said also to put a sifter. Like a flour sifter.
Mm-hmm.
Put a sifter under your bed because then the spirits have to get through all the holes to get to you into your bed. So I thought that was interesting. That sounds like really, really old school. And she gave a tip too about putting a kitchen sponge under your doormat. So before you walk in the house, you wipe your feet on the doormat, and the kitchen sponge absorbs all the negativity and stuff before you can even drag it into your house. Because your shoes drag everything into everything.
Right.
Voodoo.
Yeah.
It's so common sense.
Right. That's why I love it. Now, I know there's a lot of, and the thing is about Star too is, I don't know her actual nationality background, but she's a white woman from as far as I can see on the physical. Like I said, I don't know her nationality, but yeah. So it's hoodoo to me. I know it comes from an African background, but to me it's like a southern thing, or the conjure. They don't really call it hoodoo; they call it conjure and root work. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a little bit different from the different backgrounds or just a southern thing. I don't really want to get too much into that because I don't know enough to make any waves about it. And so one of the things that Sen Moise talked about, now Sen Moise, I didn't really know too much about him. He is a Tata in Palo Mayombe, and he's a Hugon in Haitian Voodoo. And when he was speaking the next day, actually, Christina was like, he sounds a little bit like a preacher. I'm like, well, actually, he's a priest in two different traditions, so yeah, he can do all the preaching he wants. But before his class, which was basically, it gave us 3 different kinds of tricks, as he called, spells.
Right.
He had to kind of cover like the ethical morality first because that's what he felt compelled to do. But so he spent a good 5 minutes talking about one of the themes that he had, I guess, was hearing about was ancestors, and I think he knows and realizes that a lot of witches that practice, I guess, modern witchcraft do not honor their ancestors except for once a year. They do not do that kind of work, and so he really stressed that about working with them. And he goes, once you set that up, and once you start working with them, once you start talking to them, once you start giving them offerings, all your shit's gonna pan out. All your life is gonna pan out. Your spell work is gonna pan out. Your life is just gonna get so much better. So I'm really glad that he did address that because that was something that apparently he felt needed to be addressed. You have the ability to gain the wisdom of those that came before you, and that includes the elevated spirits, which is, I guess, what I call the famous spirits, but I'm going to use the term elevated now because it sounds better. One of the things that he said that was the most powerful is that it's called spiritual work. It's called root work, not root easy. It's actual like work, and I see that even with the term witchcraft. It's craft. You have to practice it. You have to do it. And one of the things that he went into was how to actually conjure the herbs. And he gave all the herbs out, but then he kind of stopped himself and backed up for a second because he was like, you have to put them separately in their own little bowls. And he mentioned giving them each their own offerings and stuff like that, and doing that for 3 days before you even combine them. So I don't know how most people do their stuff, but that is what he talked about, and I thought that was really good for him to get the point across too, because I think some people they charge their stuff and they just do it for like a couple of minutes. And he also pointed out that the more work you put into something, the more you're going to get out of it, and we all know that. If you put a piss poor thing together, you're going to get a piss poor result.
Right.
So I thought that was really great. And he was funny because he gave a recipe for crossing powder, and people were like, well, how do you get the other person to touch it? He goes, well, you have to be a magical ninja. That's what he said. You have to be a magical ninja. Another spell he gave was about a tongue. It was like one of the stop gossip spells, and he goes, you have to go to the cemetery and nail it to the tree. And I'm like, well, how do you do that? He goes, again, you got to be a magical ninja. He goes, get some extra branches and put them up there so nobody can see it, so it doesn't look like it's there. And the same, he had another one where he said you have to get the glass from a car wreck, from a nasty car wreck. And people are like, oh, well, what can you do if you can't get the glass? And he goes, well, get the metal, get something. And, they were looking for an actual, alternative, something else. He goes, no, it's got to be something from a car wreck.
Right.
So I thought that was really funny, just the way that he was just very... I appreciate that honesty, which is why I went to see the people that I did. There's something about Southern work that is so much more honest. But it's funny how a lot of the Southerners can be so sugary sweet to your face. Because we all know how this works. They can be so sugary sweet to your face and still be honest at the same time. They're still very blunt and forward. But I don't know. I think there's just a lot more honesty with, and it's a lot more simple and effective. I don't know how else to really explain it. I'm not saying that anybody else's magic is not effective, but there's something classic and beautiful about something that is so simple.
So really what I'm hearing, Blythe, is that the South and the Southern witches are just amazing. That's what I'm hearing.
Those are the ones that I went to see. The ones that I saw that are based up in the North, the one class I walked out of, and the other class I could have taught. I could have taught both of those classes. Yeah, I mean, that's who I went. That's who I personally went for. So I did get a lot from that, and I did enjoy it. I did enjoy those teachers. I pretty much only saw 3 different teachers, which was how it went. But the whole trip in a whole it's not just the workshops, but it's like the spirit of the city is so, it's complicated. It's like, it's so old school and it's so classic, but then you have these people that are on Bourbon Street and the street stinks, and you see the homeless people and the cockroaches, and you see like the nitty gritty of it more so during the nighttime. But and then during the daytime you're walking around and you got sweat literally rolling down your back, but you don't care because there's just so much to see. And there's so many different things to check out and so many people to talk to.
I think that's pretty awesome though, that expression is, because when you think of witchcraft, that's kind of what it is. It's beautiful, but it's smelly, it's work, and while you're going through that whole experience, like it's all sweaty and gross, but you also you have that this is amazing. This
Right.
is what it's about. So that's pretty cool because that's how our craft is.
It was the city. I have never been down there either, and I'm not used to. I come from like a little suburban area, like Bourbon Street, and the crazy people, and everybody being so like I drank one drink every night, except for the one night I think I had two. I don't know. I didn't drink that much, but I drank more there than I had in a while. But I don't know. You just kind of, it's just part of it. It's just like a part of everything, and it's. I don't know. It was just interesting. You have people playing their instruments on the side of the road for money. You have people in these crazy Hello Kitty and Minion costumes for money. This one guy took off because he saw the cops coming. This guy was all painted in gold. Or no, it was a guy that was in silver. There's two of them. He was in silver and he was doing all this stuff, and then he took off when he saw the cops. I mean, I don't know. And you have the street vendors and everything else who went to the French market. I think it was French market or the open market. I can't remember which one it was. It was just completely different. It is a very magical city, and a lot of the things are geared towards. I want to see more of the touristy aspect of the magical, like trying to play up on the voodoo aspect and different things. Like somebody told me that I should do a haul video of the stuff that I got, and to be completely honest, I bought books. I didn't buy any supplies. I ended up buying Star's Bible book on Bibles, and I bought the Encyclopedia of Witchcraft from Judica. So I bought books. I got them all signed. Star signed the book. I actually found this book at Hex, and Judica's book. Me and Karen got the last two. So I went there. I got books. I kept looking at the stuff in the stores, and I was like, you know what? Everything was either overpriced because it's priced more for tourists, or I can either make it myself or I know somebody who can make it. So I wasn't really looking for anything specific. I didn't go down there for anything specific. So like my souvenir is probably, the voodoo doll that I made.
Right.
So I mean that's really the thing. I didn't really I spent more money on buying stuff for you guys than I did for myself because I didn't feel like I needed anything. And
Blythe, I don't know if you could verify that, but a lot of people that I've talked to that are from the city and are either hoodoo or voodoo practitioners, I guess. They say that don't shop at the touristy stuff. So if you're a witch and you go to New Orleans, you really have to almost get in touch with the locals to see where the real, the botanicas are and the places where the voodoo practitioners actually shop.
Right. I mean, there's
places like Vegas are touristy and they're overpriced, and that's not saying anything against anyone as far as that, but I mean that's what they're geared towards. They make money.
Right. When in their business, they should be making money. I mean.
Right.
But I'm looking at everything and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I know how to do. I don't know. Maybe I'm just more comfortable with my path now, where I'm like, I don't feel like I need stuff. Like somebody was asking me if they should get this certain thing for protection. I'm like, you know what? I don't like doing spell kits like with candles and this and that. I like having a thing. I'm like a witch bottle, like a thing, something that's there. That's more of how I am. So it kind of also was, in a way, for me to realize how far that I have come in the past couple of years, where I don't need stuff. I mean, like when I was in Salem, I bought a horseshoe, and I bought coffin nails, and I bought a couple of things too. But I just didn't feel like I needed anything when I was down there. Everything that I personally ran into was either for tourists or overpriced that I could get somewhere else. So I'm not saying anything negative about it, because listen, everybody's got a business to run.
Absolutely.
Everybody has a business to run, and yeah. So I also took Star's sweetening and souring class. One of the things that I found interesting, because you mentioned before, money was a big one. For her, she says always use sweetening work when doing money. Always use a little bit of sugar when you're trying to get money. So I thought that was very interesting. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'm not giving away everything. Oh, one thing though that I did find, because I never heard this before, is she said that when you are doing working on somebody and it's kind of more on the negative side, we'll just use that word, you never want to put your handwriting into the work. She says always print out, if you're going to do a name paper, always print it out. If you're going to do something like sweetening or something, the healing or something with people, you can use your handwriting. Anything that you have to struggle to learn is tied to your spirit. So when you start learning how to write, it doesn't come naturally. And even some of us still now, like me, I write like a 6-year-old. You struggle to write, and so that's a part of you that is part of your spirit, just as much as your hair is, and your fingernails and everything else is actually attached to you. Your handwriting, and I know Nimbus has a thing with handwriting too. He loves using handwriting. But I never thought about not using it when you're doing something like a souring jar or something else. So I thought that was very interesting.
I will say, unless you're, as that goes, and I'm not disagreeing with Star, but if you're dominating someone, then I do use handwriting. I want to dominate myself over another. So that's kind of a negative. So, I mean, I get it. Well, it can be really great. But, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's hardcore manipulation, and I will say that that's the only time that I use my piece of me in a working like that.
Right.
Yeah, I have used it for that too, and it worked out well. But that was what she said, so I thought that was very interesting. And Dorothy's second class about swamp witchery, I had no interest. I didn't know what swamp witchery was. I was like, it's Dorothy Morrison, so I'm going to take her swamp witchery class. And she gave away, there's so much information. She talked about using black-eyed peas for protection. She talked about using fish hooks. She talked about, there's so much more. She talked about using scissors instead of like a horseshoe. Opening up scissors and putting them above your door. Which I hadn't, because it kind of cuts the shit. Because if you think about it. And then the best part actually was the panel, which was I saw the keeping the teeth in witchcraft. Now, I had Christina on one side of me and Karen on the other side of me, and I took that one. It was Sen Moise. All the people I saw. It was Sen Moise. It was Star Cassis. It was Christian Day, Dorothy Morrison, Melissa Mayhem, and Witch Doctor Utu. And it was like watching our show. Because a lot of the things that they said is a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about for the past year. Now, I'm not saying nothing about that, but it was all truth, and it was all honesty, and it was all about, it was like witchcraft without apologies. It was like, what do you have to be sorry for? you know, there's nothing, be who you are, be the shining light that you are, and just go with it. And I should have like rewrote a lot of this stuff, but I know one of the things that Christian said was guilt is for insecure people. If you feel guilty about something, it's because you're feeling insecure about something. Right?
I kind of like that.
Star said, what you don't do comes back to you. So if you don't take care of a situation, and that's happened to me before, then, you know, that's, shit happens. One of the things that Sen Moise said a lot is that witches are actually there to create balance, but he said it in a way that not a lot of the way that people think of it is, but if somebody is causing an imbalance by doing something negative to you or negative to somebody else, it is your job to fix it. So it is basically your job to fix what those sociopathic people are doing, something like that. So it's not like how a lot of people use that word, balance and imbalance.
Right.
And one of the things that they did talk about was initiation, and I thought that was interesting because we all end up being initiated in a way. And I'm not talking about like in a tradition. Like we've all been there, we've all had our trials, and the gods do initiate us, and they push us and push us and push us to see how far we're going to go, and that is usually our breaking point either way. Mm-hmm. That is either you're going to go and you're going to continue to do this path, or you're going to break off and be like, no, this ain't for me, I can't handle this, I can't do it. And that made a lot of sense because that's something that I went through a couple years ago, which is like you come to that point where you're being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and it's like, what are you going to do about it? And then it's kind of really taking your power into your own hands and, you know, owning your own power. So you have to own that reward and that lesson was something that Melissa Mayhem said. You have to own that reward and own that lesson and walk with your head high. You did it. So, and one of the things that Dorothy said is if someone hates you, you were doing something right. So for them to hate you, they have to have enough emotional attachment to you in order to hate you. And then there's a lot of, you know, jealous people out there. And just listening to, like, that all being said really hit me because it hit me with a lot of stuff with our show and a lot of stuff that had been happening. So that's kind of like that push where you're like, it's kind of, in a way, like that confirmation. And I'm like, all right, this is what's going on. This is what needs to happen. And we're doing the right thing and we're on the right road. And, like, this is where we all know that. This is where we all need to be. This is what we need to keep doing. Sen Moise said, how do you know that you're a leader? Because when you look behind you, you know, people automatically follow you. It's not something that you created. Or you have people are next to you. You're not creating zombies. You're not creating, we joke about minions, but you're... But to be a true leader, you're working with people. You're not trying to dominate them and push them below you. You want them to blossom and be their own people and do their own things, which is one of the things that we really try very hard to do within our group and with the show, is to give people the empowerment to do it on their own. So I thought that was super awesome. Mm. And so after that, we went into the elevator, and Melissa Mayhem walked in the elevator, and I told her that, because you may not know it, but I'm a little shy sometimes. I don't just talk to people. So I told her, I said, you know, everything that was said in that panel was needed to be said. All those people that were there were needed to hear all that stuff to be said to help empower themselves. That was what the weekend was for me. It was very, very empowering. And you know, I was like, that's what we talk a lot about on our show. And Christina's like, yeah, they have a YouTube show. She's like, oh, well, what is it? And I told her, she goes, oh, I think I might have seen that before. And she's trying to remember. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, did you like it or not? But we didn't get to that point. But it was really awesome to talk to her for a couple of minutes about that. And then we kept going out. We went out on Bourbon Street again. We went on Bourbon Street every night. Got this awesome glass. I'm all over the place tonight, guys. And they wanted it spirits on bourbon. Like, the girls insisted, and there's water in it now, but it, like, lights up and stuff. And it was, like, super awesome.
Of course it does.
I just got it because they did. I was like, alright. But, the highlight for me was the next morning. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get the shuttle to the airport. Now, the awesome thing about staying in the French Quarter and with the airport being where it is they have shuttles. They cost you $20 to get to whatever hotel is in the area, and then the same on the way back. So that's actually really good. You don't have to worry about catching a cab. We did not drive. I didn't even bother with a car. Those roads are crazy. One-way streets and this and that and the people walking. So I'm in the shuttle, and I see Dorothy Morrison walking out of the airport. And she's got her carry-on, and I'm like, shit. And I get out of the shuttle, and I'm like looking for her. This is where I get creepy. I'm like, oh, where'd she go? And I saw her sitting on the bench, and she was having a cigarette, and I'm like, I want to say hi to her, but I don't want to be annoying. So I said good morning to her, and I sat down with her for a couple of minutes. And we realized that we were on the same flight. The first flight, we were going to be on the same flight. So I was like, all right. I checked in my bags, and I went through the security, and which I did not bring my toiletry bag that time. On the way over, I got a full, like, 6-ounce thing of face wash hijacked, which I was very upset about. I forgot to tell that at the beginning of the story. So I get my coffee, and I sit down, and I see Dorothy coming, and I'm like, okay, I spent like 20 minutes with her outside. I'm okay with that. If she walks right past me, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be offended. Because I was trying to also be respectful of her, because when we were sitting outside, she said that she's actually had somebody pass her a book under the stall in the bathroom for her to sign it when she was going to the bathroom in a public place. And I'm like, that's when you know you've made it. Right?
They follow you into the bathroom and you get beside you in the stall.
That's when you know you've made it, when somebody's trying to get you to sign their book in the bathroom stall. So I'm like, alright, I'm not going to be creepy. I sat down on the table, and she sat with me. She saw me, and she sat with me for about an hour. And we just bullshitted about everything and nothing. She was talking about her grandkids. I talked about my kids. It was just random stuff. It wasn't even magical stuff. It was just real life shit, which was really awesome. And then, like, that was just, I don't know, I feel like I'm downplaying it, but it was just the most amazing experience, especially a couple of days before. I'm glad I didn't see her, like, I'm glad she didn't see me, like, going like this, the fangirl moment on the boat. But I was
as attractive in like face-to-face life as she is in all of her pictures.
Dorothy has the Fountain of Youth in her back pocket. Okay?
She does. That woman is so beautiful.
She has the Fountain of Youth.
I don't feel bad, and I hope she watches this one day, because Dorothy, you are so hot. Like,
she is gorgeous.
I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young I am. I do care that I'm married, so I should shut my mouth just in case Lindsay watches this.
Well, she is too. She's very happy. She was telling me about her husband. Well, she talked about in the workshop too, but she told me a couple other little things. And they're adorable. And one of the things in our first workshop is, and she goes into it a little bit in Utterly Wicked, is about her first husband, who's a complete total asshole. So to go from that story to the story about her husband now, like, he does these little things for her, and it's just so supportive and so sweet. She says that he drops off the packages for her at the mailbox when she mails everybody's stuff out. I'm like, you can't get any better than that, really. So she was just telling me stuff like she is, and she's smart as hell too. She's quick. She's so quick. Like, that's what. Yeah. So she's got it all, except that she is happily married.
Her accent. I'm a Southerner, but her accent is even charming to me. So it's just.
That's the funny thing about her is she has that Southern where. She is funny as shit, too, because she was saying some off-the-wall stuff. Oh, when she was talking about doing a love spell, she said, when you do a love spell, imagine the person from the rear. Because most people look the same from the rear, and you can create any rear that you want. And She also said, you gotta imagine all the romance down to the hot jungle sex. I'm just like, oh my gosh. It was just so, it's not just what she says, it's how she delivers it too. Which comes, like, even, it just comes naturally to her, I think. I don't think it's any kind of practice, or it's not an actress thing, it's not just like a public speaking thing, it just comes naturally. Like, she has just great delivery. She has great lines. She could be a comedian. She could be a magical comedian.
That would be interesting. That's awesome.
What do you have
I'm
there,
happy
Michael? What is that?
Endless Love.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Is that the one where she floats hot jungle sex?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that too.
I'm obsessed with everything she has. I'm obsessed with her.
No, it was great, and then so she's like, okay, we're gonna go to the closer to the gate, because I sat kind of in between. We had like an hour, so I'm like, I'm not gonna sit right in front of the gate where all those crazy people are all on top of each other. So I sat at a nice little table, and then she came and joined me. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna use the bathroom before I get on the plane. And then she sat down, and then it happened to be a seat next to her, and she's like, oh, go ahead. So, because I felt kind of weird, because I'm like, I don't want to keep following her around if she's got something else she'd rather be doing. It was early. It was crazy early, because when I first started talking to her, it was 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, she had also told me that her original flight was at 11 o'clock in the morning. It got changed to the early one. So that is by coincidence. And our final destination, we're completely, well, actually, she's up north somewhere. She said that I think she's near Baltimore. I think that's what she said. So we're both in the Northeast, but I don't know. We just kind of got an off chance. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, all these motherfuckers have no idea who she is. Like, all these people that are around here have no idea who she is, and I'm just, like, beaming because I got to talk to her.
Fangirl.
Oh my god.
I would have been blushing, and it would not have been good. She can be a deviant. Let's make her a deviant. Let's.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even have to try out. Just come on whenever you want.
Oh, my. Oh, my.
Yeah, she... I don't know. There's just something about her. She has a presence, which is why I didn't want to come off as being creepy. But then the fact that she remembered who I was. Oh, and then yesterday, was it yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
We were never, okay. So then I kind of talked about a little bit on Facebook that, you know, me and her conversated on the airplane. And then on Tuesday, so if you don't believe me, go look at her Facebook post from Tuesday. She mentions me by name, by full name.
Oh my!
And then yesterday she friend requested me, and it's really funny because I was talking to one of my coworkers about this, and he kind of knows a little bit about the magical stuff like that I do a little bit, and I'm telling him that I met like an author and it was super awesome, and he goes, well, you're kind of famous, right? I'm like, I am famous. I got recognized during the convention. I got to talk to her. I was like, yeah, of course, we all are.
That's so funny.
Well, I don't know. It's like, yeah, Melissa Mayhem says she watched the show, which she thinks she did, but I was just like, yeah, I don't know.
That's just an awesome experience, and I hope that, like, everyone who attended HexFest, I hope that, like, they got that entire message, and I hope that more people start speaking it, because, like you said, that the panel that you went to, it was a lot of, like, what we are expressing. Right. And so for more people to start expressing that, for people who are, you know, known to be sharing that information and to get that out to more people, it means something, because it means that a lot of people are actually taking notice. They're listening to spirits, and right. They can feel it, and they know that this message is very important and that it's time for a change. And so I really, really hope that everyone who went to HexFest will start to take everything that they learned and kind of hold it, you know, within and use it to kind of be a beacon and allow for them to share that with other people and to start actually practicing more and doing what is necessary and, you know, living the title of witch.
Right. No, I mean, there was a lot of other classes. I don't have my flyer. We did get these pamphlets. But everything is probably still on the website. There were a bunch of other classes, and I think everybody was called to take the class that was right for them, take the workshops that were right for them. So even the people that went into Christopher Pentek's Plant Familiars class, that was empowering to them because that is what they're working on. You know, the classes that I attended, that's why I went. I went down there for the nitty-gritty shit. I mean, that's why I went.
Right.
You know, I had one of the Raven's classes, Raven Gramasi. I had taken the one class he did. I'd already taken before, and I'd seen Christopher Pentek speak before, but it was between him and Dorothy. So it was like no contest.
Hello.
Like I would have went to his one of his, but I was like, I can't. This is why I'm here. So this is why I came. I wanted to hear new information. I want to hear different things. I don't want to hear the same shit that you can hear everywhere. So that is why I went. And it was great. They did set the event already for next year. I know it's the first weekend in June. And that's not going to be a weekend that I'll be able to attend because my kids are still in school. Right. So I think they're trying to avoid the August heat for next year. But like I said, you don't notice it. Like you notice it, but you don't notice it because there's just so much. Everybody's like melting, but there's just so much going on that you don't really even notice it. You don't really know what's going on.
Sure. And they can change it to June all they want to, but that southern heat is just as bad in June. It was actually worse for us this year in June as it was in August. Mm-hmm. August has been mild. June was like pretty powerful. You never know. It's terrible.
And just to let everyone know, I do have the question and answers thingy up. So if you have any questions, you can, and it doesn't have to be about Hexfest. It can be about anything.
Right.
We're just kind of catching up and sharing.
I mean, the thing with books and book knowledge is books are awesome. We all love books. We're all bibliophiles. We all love books, but it's different hearing somebody speak. I know for me, I'm better with visuals and hearing, even though I can't write it all down. But I'm better with picking up stuff that way than just reading it in a book. Try to reach out and communicate with different practitioners. Try to take these workshops if they're traveling. One of the reasons why I went too, I had to go, is because I know Dorothy is not going to be traveling as much or any more, I think, after this year. So I really wanted to see her because I'd never seen her before. You know, just you have to, I don't say you have to, but you have to reach out and you have to communicate and you have to reach out to other people. People are so worried about judgment and being judged about what they're doing is what's really closing them off and preventing them from learning different things. Like, the Southern work and the hoodoo and the conjure is not really my background, but it's something that I'm extremely interested in. I love folk magic. I love anything that has to do with folk magic. But you have to really open yourself up to new experiences. I think it's very, very important for people to connect with each other and connect with other people, which is one of the reasons why we made the group, for people to connect with each other. Everybody's, they have these bad experiences, and it's just like a relationships. Just because you have a couple people that break your heart, does that mean you're going to swear off relationships for fucking ever? No, you got to try and try and try and try, and then you find your niche. I know everybody, it's the same kind of thing. You can't say, oh, well, I tried to talk to these people 20 years ago, and it didn't work out, so I've been solitary ever since. You've been solitary? You're fucking stagnant.
Right.
There's nothing going on. Are you going to stop having sex for 20 years? Probably not. Yeah. So it's the same if you want to compare it to being in a relationship. It's you got to do it and you got to put yourself out there and you got to communicate with other people or your spirits. I mean, it's kind of and your spirits. So
yeah. I mean, you can only masturbate so much.
Oh dear. It's true though, because when you're around other practitioners and you share, you grow, and it's not just about growing and learning new things. You heighten and you expand energy and you shift things. The more of us that are around each other, the more of us that are actually legit And that's like my new, like, I love using that word lately. I don't know why. But the more of us actually do that, we grow, we raise energy, we create something new, and that is a beautiful thing. We have to like inspire each other.
Right.
It just changes. It changes, the community. It changes a lot of different things. So going to events like this, and even just like in the group, like the more you engage with people, the more you talk with people, the more things click, and the more all of us grow. And that is a scary thing, but a really good thing for us.
Sometimes it's harder online because people misinterpret. It's harder because people misinterpret, and some people are very sensitive and take offense to things very easily. At the same time, it's easier because you can say things. We all know it's kind of easier to be online than it is to be in person sometimes. But I don't know, it's kind of that double-edged sword. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not. But people need to stop lurking and start participating, like for real.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things that I ever actually remember Michael teaching me. And I do listen. He doesn't think I listen, but I listen.
He doesn't.
Was that you never know how much you grow until you're around people that are like you. I always consider myself solitary, and Blythe was actually one of the first friends that I ever had in the community. I'll say outside of North Carolina, and it's kind of weird how everything, and we talk about it all the time how things had to just be in place, but when they got in place and we were surrounded and we were touching each other's energies and we're around people that want to see you grow and want to see you shift, not just my practice in general, but my power in itself has been like intensified. And sometimes that's not easy. Sometimes it fucking sucks. Sometimes I'd rather have stayed stagnant for a little bit longer, but it's not helpful.
Right.
And
well,
sometimes it's overwhelming, and sometimes you realize you're growing, and you're growing at a pace that wasn't exactly comfortable before, but it's kind of got to happen, and I mean, it's just, and it happens.
The funny thing is like obviously you're absolutely right, but for example, with the recent, past couple months, whatever, you've had certain experiences that heightened certain skills, skill sets, and then recently, I have had certain things happen where made, intensified a skill set that I did not really want.
I haven't
at all.
Have I heard about this? We'll talk later. Anyway, okay.
I know what it is.
Yeah. So
Michael turned into me. We'll just put it that way.
And I don't want to be
No, I don't know what that means.
Oh, okay.
That scares me.
Okay. So
not like literally turned into me. We'll talk about that later.
I don't have the chest for it.
No, the whole weekend was great. It was empowering, and I loved it, and it was amazing. And it happened the way that it needed to happen. The people that needed to be there. I mean, because when you get in that funk, and that's one of the things I had told Dorothy, too, was when we were talking in the airport, is that everybody that needed to be there was there, and sometimes when you get in a funk and it pulls you out. And I did tell her, one of the things I really appreciated about her is I realized on our one-on-one time is that as famous as she is, and she is, if she wants to admit it or not, she really is. She is still very, very down to earth, and she is honest to God, like, appreciative of people that appreciate her. Like, she doesn't have this big ego with this big head about, oh, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. Like, she was appreciative in the one class that Raven Gramasi had a class, Christopher Penzak had a class, and her class was full. Like, she was really appreciative of all of the people that were there and all the people that came. And that kind of was a thing for me, too. It was kind of a lesson, too, that no matter how big you get, you still have to be humble, and you still have to have that appreciation. And you can't get that big ego and that big head and think, oh, yeah, I'm the best. Because I think when people get that, that's when they get into trouble.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
And we
Absolutely.
witnessed that all the time. We witnessed these they were ordinary everyday witches, and then they got published, and then just because they've got a book on the shelf, they become these rampant assholes that think the world owes them something. And the fact of the matter is that's not the case. I mean, I think one of the biggest differences between and I'm not saying Christopher or Raven or either one of them, because I've never met them in person, but I hear they're like great people to interact with, and I'm not saying that there's a couple that I'm thinking, but I'm not going to say that. You can tell when you interact, and you can tell by the product that is placed out. And I'm not saying this just because I'm a fan of Dorothy, but you can tell the products that she places out, and even the books that she publishes. You can tell you read Utterly Wicked, and it's like it's not a grimoire, it's not a spell book. It's her life in those pages. Yeah. And that's a complete difference between some authors that go in and they list a bunch of information, but they don't tell you how it affected them and how they came about these spells and how these workings have helped them. And I think that may be the difference between authors like that and famous witches like that versus the ones that are just published and they don't. They're not real. They're the ones that want to get a paycheck, but they don't want to do the work to sustain them in a good light in the public.
The thing of it, too, is I don't think authors of book sales get a lot of money, to be completely honest. And one of the things that she did tell me is that the presenters that were there did not get paid. She said there was some kind of the memes going around that said something about a picture of all the authors saying that they were just there for a paycheck, and she said that they didn't get paid. They don't get paid for stuff like that. They do it out of the goodness of their heart, and that's why they vend. That's why they bring their books and their supplies and everything. And when I did speak with her privately, her products did come up, and I told her shit works. And I told her that before when I bought some of her, when she was selling my book. Is that her stuff works. And I told her about what I shared on the money spell video we did a couple weeks ago about signing up new customers and the child support and stuff. I told her about that. Her stuff works. And what she was saying too, she goes, well, it's also the practitioner. And I'm like, no, it could be the practitioner, but that's because they don't know how to use the spirit of the oil. But her oils actually have spirit. They're charged and they're ready to go. And a lot of stuff that people put out there doesn't work.
Right.
So
I'm just going to address this because there is a question, if you were starting out in the witchcraft, conjuring, root working, what are some of the materials that you would suggest studying? So, Dorothy Morrison, Star. Join the Deviant Witchery group and participate, and you will learn traditional witchcraft, Gemma-Gary.
The Deviant Grimoire when it comes back out.
Yeah, no, we're still working on that.
It's a work in progress.
It's gonna happen. People waited for an entire year, like on the edge of their seats, being updated about that book. They can wait a little longer for an excellent of it.
Starting out in witchcraft and conjuring and root working, to be completely and totally honest, is start working with your dead. I mean, that's a basis, that's a foundation of witchcraft, conjure, and root work that covers all three of them. As far as the actual magical aspect of it, I still the same. I think it starts with your dead and your ancestors.
And I'm gonna cut in and say that work with the land around you. Get familiar with where you're at. In two aspects. One, the actual spirit of the place that you're residing on. Because if you're trying to practice in a place, we all kind of have to go back to the animistic beliefs where no matter where you are in the world, there was something there before you. and if you're not honoring it and getting to know it, it's not going to work with you well. And why not add an extra ally? Number two, as far as my experience with voodoo, and again, depending on where you're at in North Carolina, you either call it conjure or root working or hoodoo. Very few people are called. I grew up knowing them as hoodoo men, like the practitioners. They were hoodoos or hoodoo men, but
Right.
or hoodoo women for that matter. But talk to people, because you don't, just because they don't, you think you're a witch, right? Just because they're not considering themselves a witch does not mean that they're not magical practitioners. I know people personally that I went to church with growing up, and they are magical practitioners.
Right. No, that reminds me. One of the quotes, one of the things that Sen Moise said was that not everybody is meant to be a witch. If
Right.
everybody was a witch, we'd all be dead. Because we wouldn't have lawyers, and we wouldn't have surgeons, and we wouldn't have, we wouldn't have vets, and we wouldn't have builders. And I know there's a lot of people that do both, but have their profession and are witches too. But he has a point. You need the practitioners and the people that are, I'm going to say it, people that are strong enough to shine that inner light and to do the work that needs to be done. And then you have the people that do, like, the physical work. Like, I'm not going to go and turn around and go build a house. I'm not built for it, and I don't want to do it, and I'm lazy, and I'm not going to do it. But there are people that are built for that. But
Right.
those people that are built for the physical work, they may not be built for the spiritual work and different work that we do. They may not know nothing. Oh, shit, talking funny now. They may not know anything about herbs and crystals and stuff. They know about their different. I know. But I think that the weekend I couldn't tell if I was talking like a Southerner or a Canadian. That's how messed up my accent was by the end of the week.
Oh my!
It was kind of funny. But yeah, that's.
Another thing, we did a show on, I think it's called First Flight. It's like beginning. So check that video out. Like, look for it. I don't even remember. Like, I don't remember, but check it out, and you'll get a lot more information there too. Practice.
Right. And you don't know until you start doing stuff.
Know yourself.
Yeah.
Like, get to know who the fuck you are, because if you're, you need to know your gift. You need to, because real quickly I will point out that it's not your gift. So,
right.
So if you personally come to me and you go, and I can tell that you're, you're not. I don't want to say, okay, witchcraft is extremely, extremely exclusive, and that's something that people don't understand, and they don't like to hear it, because they think that everybody can be a witch, and the fact of the matter is, not everybody can sing, not everybody has good athletic talent, not everybody.
You get labeled an elitist.
I think you have witch with a big W, and you have witch with a little W. You have the witches that are the actual practitioners, and the ones that want to be. They have the ability to manifest and to do certain things, but they don't have the ability to do, like, everything or the deeper things, or they're scared. A lot of people are very scared.
And when
and stuff.
And I know we say this constantly, and you're absolutely correct when you say know yourself, because when you practice, when you choose to, if this chooses you and you choose to, progress with it, if you don't know yourself, then you're fucked. And that's true, because I've went through experiences a lot recently, and just different things that I don't even talk about. And if I didn't know myself, I would have probably allowed myself to just, I don't know, go to a place that I didn't want to go to. And then you also know, like, there are certain situations where you want to curse someone, like, really, really badly. Like, really badly. You want to hurt someone, you really want to hurt them, but it's not necessary, because for whatever reason. So if you didn't know yourself, you would probably just give into that, like, that place where you really want to lash out, and you actually don't want to lash out If that makes sense, like you really don't want to, but you're in a certain stage where you want to hurt someone. You want to make sure that someone feels pain. And if you don't, like I said, if you don't really, really know yourself and your craft well enough, you'll make the wrong decisions. And when you are working with witchcraft, there are wrong decisions, and you basically can hurt yourself. And sometimes there's no coming back from certain choices that you
even if you do make the wrong decision, you still have to own it. You can't hide from it. You still have to own it and deal with it and deal with the consequences. Because if you don't, like in anything in your life, it's going to haunt you. It's going to come back to you. It's going to come back to you, and you do have to just work with it and deal with it.
Absolutely.
But you don't need to know your beliefs too, especially like one of the big things with money. Like if your belief system is that you do not think that you should be casting for money, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve that. If you do decide, like you'll notice your money will start to disappear. If you feel like you don't deserve money, it's not going to want to come to find you anymore. It's going to leave you.
Money.
So,
me.
Right? If you try to do a money working and you have this belief that you should not do money working, you should not do anything for personal gain, you ain't gonna get shit from it. One of the things that Dorothy said is that she kind of laughs when people say that, oh, well, won't that speed up, so-and-so's death for the inheritance and blah, blah. She goes, she's like, you're not powerful enough to speed up somebody else's life. So if you do end up getting inheritance because somebody passed, they were to pass anyway, but maybe they changed their mind and added your name into their will at the last minute. Like, but you did not cause their death. I don't think, and she does have a point. Like, when you're casting a money spell, do you have enough power where you're going to kill somebody? Like,
I know some other spells that are powerful enough to kill somebody.
Right!
There are other things that I know that can
Right. But not when you're casting just
Not
for
money.
money.
No.
No.
I mean, unless that's your goal, it's like
Right.
know that you're gonna, that killing them will ensue you money. Then it's a whole nother. That's another show. That's another.
That is something we will not have a show on. Thank you. We might.
Are you
Don't
saying we
kill
have
people.
limits?
It's not okay. It's never okay to kill people.
Do we have
It's just
limits?
not. Even for the deviants, it's
We
not.
don't
okay.
have limits, but we keep certain things to ourselves in our own little,
I don't know how to kill anybody. I just want to put that on the record.
That's horrible.
I could probably figure it out.
You keep studying root work, and you'll figure it out real
I
fast.
could figure it out. Oh, Star did say it says in the Bible how you can kill somebody, but she wasn't going to tell anybody. They had to find it for themselves.
Well, yeah. I went to...
With magic, by the way. With magic, not like a hammer and stuff. No.
We should close this up very soon, but I also want to say that I went to a pagan festival a long, long time ago, and I went to a tarot, like a workshop, and the lady was like, I know how to, there are cards in the deck that can foretell and do foretell death. It's not the death card. There are certain cards. I will not tell you what they are unless you really want to know. You can come to me, and I will share that with you. So, yeah, if you have that knowledge, you could actually use those cards to, But I thought it was interesting information. But yes, we probably should close this soon. Is there anything else y'all want to say? Because I want to talk to you, on my own.
I think I said everything that I needed to say.
I'm so glad you went though, Blythe, because
I am too.
everyone had the best intentions of going. I think all four of us, even all of you, at least bought your tickets. I didn't even get that far, but I mean, it worked out, and I'm glad you went. Because personally, if you want to know my opinion, I think that out of all of us that could benefit from it, maybe you were the one who could benefit from it the most.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Right, and I thought the same thing, and I was thinking the same thing, but I was like, I don't want that to come off as being like negative to you guys.
No, it's the
Like,
truth.
you guys don't need it.
No, it's
No,
not.
no.
I'm sure there's things that I could have learned, but I think that there are some, especially the empowering part and
Right.
that you may have needed to give yourself the slap on the ass that
Right. And
that
that's
they
and that's
particularly
really what it was. I can't say it was like a certain thing or this and that. It was the whole experience all together. Like that's the only time I've actually had like a girls' weekend, and I realized that when I was down there. I've never done that before. I've never had the ability to do that before. I was able to go and do whatever I wanted and enjoy myself. And we had never met before. We met down there, and we all got along awesomely, like really, really well. It was a great weekend, and being able to talk to different people and do different things, and it was the whole thing. I can't pinpoint anything. It was everything, except it just costs so much damn money to eat down there. That's the only problem. But yeah, no, it was a great experience, like all around.
Exciting.
And I should post some of the pictures on the page too. Like I think that some of the pictures, especially of the cemetery and stuff, maybe I'll post on the page because I posted them on my personal Facebook, but I'll post them on there.
Yes. Okay. So I guess that is gonna tie up our little show today. It's just kind of like, sharing.
Oh wait.
Oh, what?
Right. Okay, this show's over, but we need to talk about where we're gonna go into in September.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, September, because I haven't talked enough during this show. September is going to be super awesome. Now that we remembered that there is actually a month of September.
I know, my God.
We forgot what we were planning. We thought we went straight from August to October, but anyways, the whole month of September is going to be about traditional witchcraft. I know next week we are going to talk about like what is traditional witchcraft compared to what is practiced today.
And more so like what it means to us too. Like we're not trying to speak for any specific tradition, I guess you can say, or
Right.
Yeah,
because like traditional witchcraft is not like any one tradition either. There's different traditions within the umbrella of traditional witchcraft. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And I don't have my list in front of me, so I don't know. It's for the rest of the month. But the whole month is going to be about traditional witchcraft stuff.
Yes, and preparing for Samhain.
Yes.
And there's another, like, I'll share this too. There's another little project that I want to start doing, and that means I want to start producing more like shorter videos like on certain days, and we'll figure out how to do that, and maybe looking for people to share that with us, people who actually know what they're talking about and can share information, and who actually can engage and not just be there. But if you want us to answer anything, if you have anything that you want us to talk about, put it in the comments on this video on YouTube so we can go through it, and we will be happy to address anything that we feel we are comfortable, speaking out about. Yeah.
Go do some fucking spell work. It's the full moon. Go do something.
Yeah. Make shit happen, dudes. And that's it.
That's it.
Bye.
Peace out.
Peace out.